I am back. Officially, the motherboard has been replaced. Let me know if I'm a little too loud. I'm using a different microphone. For whatever reason, the headset mic doesn't want to work with Streamlabs OBS, so we're using the boom mic, which is, right here. So the motherboard has been replaced. Everything seems to be working. There was a few little snafus I had to deal with, which is why it took me a little longer to get back on streaming than I would have liked. But we are here. We are back. It's been a month or so since my last stream, and it's good to be back. And thank you very much, Pug. So let's jump into things. Let's get right into the creative director's letter from Stephen Shreve for Ashes of Creation, and then we'll transition to what I've missed in dev updates. I think there's one or two, because like I said, it's been a while, and we'll do my reactions to those as well. I have read the letter. I have not watched the developer updates, so we will get to those. So let's kick in. So this is from April 14th, 2021, creative director's letter, and here is going to be my, we'll read it. I'll give my biased feedback, because that's what an opinion show is. An opinion show is something that does contain some form or measure of bias at all times, but people seem to enjoy my point of view. I keep getting subscribers on YouTube. Thank you. I do appreciate that. So people must like what I have to say. Here we go. Glorious Ashes community. And let me know how the volume is. If it's a little too loud, if it's a little too hot, let me know. I know I'm redlining a little bit over here when I face the mic. Maybe I'll turn it down a little bit. Eventually I'm going to be doing more boom mic anyways. I think I sound better, but let me know. I like this mic too. Come see, come saw, right? Anyways, glorious Ashes community. I hope each and every one of you are staying safe and healthy as we enter into spring. We are now well into 2021, and here at Intrepid, we are working hard to prepare for Alpha 1 this June. As some of you may know, we pushed our Alpha 1 back 2 months to accommodate some unforeseen work. But I am happy to report that we have made great progress towards further stability and performance optimizations, and are looking forward to giving our entire community a peek behind the NDA curtain. Of course, it goes without saying, this is our Alpha. This is our Alpha 1, and as such, you will not be seeing a finished game. So this is where, and he says quite the opposite. So this is where the language that Stephen uses is the language we should have been seeing for a while. As I've said, I don't think Ashes is in an Alpha 1 state. We still only have 3 playable classes that we've been shown. We have not seen anything about the orcs yet. Nothing about Talnar. There's a lot of fundamental things that I haven't seen yet. Now, maybe they show them in the latest update. I haven't seen it yet, so maybe there's a caveat to be had there. But an Alpha 1 or an Alpha generally means you have the fundamentals of your game in place, and you're play testing, bug testing. You are trying to stress test those fundamental features, right? The foundations of the game. This is the basement. This is the pilings of what could be a 110-story building. Okay, you need to have those core fundamentals in there, and I as yet have not seen enough of those fundamentals. So again, I don't think this game's Alpha 1 ready as far as I would understand an Alpha. I think they're still in a building state. Now, I do understand there are several reasons why they might have to claim an Alpha 1, because, they've been putting it off for 4 years. Alpha 1 this fall, Alpha 1 this fall, Alpha 1 this, right? So it's been put off for years that Alpha 1 was coming this fall. So there are some potential legal obligations as far as the European Union and how they do things. I think they also want to really show people that this isn't going to be a Chronicles of Illyria, that, there is actually something here, and I definitely applaud them for that. Like I said, the language for the most part has been rah cheerleader style, fake it till you make it, a lot of, big positive, statements. But again, what we've seen, at least in my opinion, hasn't measured up. Maybe that's changed the last monthly update. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything inherently wrong, or I'm not trying to be negative. MMOs take a lot of work. And what they're trying to do with Ashes of Creation is monumental. It's not something that I think is going to take your average of 5 to 7 years for an average MMO, because they're trying to pack in so many different things. So I expect there to be delays. I guess there was a delay before this Alpha 1 delay. I called it. I will not be surprised if there's not further delays, whether we see the June Alpha 1, which I think we probably will. But it's not, I'm hoping the Alpha 1 isn't just a 1 month thing either. If they're, I don't know what they're going to be billing for the next Alpha 1 keys, but if it's $150 to upgrade from, I'm at the 375 or whatever, 350. So if it's like they want to round out to a $500 American to get you into the Alpha 1, and it's only 30 days long, that, I'm sorry, I won't even pay $80 to buy Outriders. Okay. Because that game is, I called that game too, that it wasn't release ready and stuff, and now a lot of people are talking about all of the things that I talked about just playing the demo. So I want to kind of see how that goes. Right now, all we know is Alpha 1 is 1 month, right? We know Alpha 2 is going to be a persistent universe or a persistent server, but Alpha 1 is going to be not, right? So I'm hoping it's more than just 1 month. The way they've talked about it, it does sound like it's going to be like 1 month now, and then maybe in a couple of months will be another couple of weeks or another month of play. And that would make it worthwhile a little bit more. Now, I also know you're paying to help build this game. And this is why, again, I get back to the language. I appreciate the language that's coming up here. So, to reiterate, it goes without saying, this is our Alpha 1. And as such, you will not be seeing a finished game. Quite the opposite. You will be seeing a work in progress with bugs and still vast optimizations yet to be done. Additionally, many systems and features are still yet to be implemented or are done so in a very core fashion. So what does this mean? Well, I've read on the forums, been reading on the forums and on other websites and other, even some of the people that are producing other videos or having blogs and whatnot. There's a lot of people that think they're going to get into this Alpha 1 and just start smashing the game. These are people that should not be in Alpha 1, because these are the people that are going to get into the game. It's not going to be that way, and then they're just going to piss, moan, and complain about it and give this game a negative perception, when they will be the ones that are 110% in the wrong, okay? This is what an Alpha 1 should be, okay? So we're going to have a month to play on these servers to do almost whatever we want. Now, there's going to be time when we can run around and just do whatever we want, whatever we can. There's going to be other times where we'll get emails or messages of some kind, probably in the server as well, where it's going to be like, hey, we need everybody to go to this location, or in 60 seconds, you're going to be teleported to this location. And then we're going to be told to do something, or we're going to be asked to do something. We may see a checklist of things that they want us to check, like running around, jumping against or running against everything and anything, right? See if you can find cracks in the world. See if you can fall through the world. They're going to want, all the mages to be using the same spells at the same time just to see how the server handles that. It depends on how the client and the server are going to handle those things because these are inputs and outputs. It can be tedious. There's a lot of repetition, right? Because it'll be, okay, we want everybody to do X. We all do X. And then, they don't say anything. We go and do something else. And then a half an hour, 3 hours later, they want us to do the exact same thing. And then they'll want us to do the exact same thing again and again and again. And what this is they're reading the data, and then they're tweaking whatever needs to be tweaked, hot fixing whatever on the server side, so we don't necessarily know it. They'll reboot the servers if they have to. And then we do it again. They look at the data, and they try to kind of narrow it down to what they want or what they expect to see. And then once that's done, then we go and we do something else. That's an alpha. You're not playing the game. It's not meant to be played. You're experimenting. You're trying things. You are looking for exploits. You are looking for bugs and crashes. You're looking for obvious cracks in the world. Because every computer system is also going to render the world differently. Right? Because of different video cards and stuff that they cannot test for. So it might look great on their system because their systems are going to be probably fairly modern, fairly up to date. Where, say, a system like mine that's 6+ years old, I might get different tearing, or the world generation might not work quite right because my system doesn't process it fast enough, or whatever, and boom, I fall through a crack. So there's something that they might have to change. So there's all of these different things that go on in an alpha. And yeah, things are going to be broken, or things just aren't going to work, right? You might have something on your taskbar that you can't use, or you'll use it and nothing happens, right? It doesn't work right because it's not implemented yet. It's there with a placeholder or something along those lines. And so my concern is you're going to have a lot of people getting into the game thinking that they're going to go and they're going to play this game and they're going to make it to an end boss or something like that. And it's like, no, not going to happen. In an alpha, they might turn off all but one type of mob, right? So you might only see the little furry rabbit thingies, the fanglings or whatever the heck they are. You might only see the mushroom things. You might only see a certain boss, and they might want everybody to raid against that boss. So all of these things are potentials that can happen in an alpha, and they're supposed to happen that way. And then your obligation as a tester is to report everything that doesn't look like it's working right, or you have to fill out bug reports or whatever. And you're going to be asked, how repeatable is this bug? What are the steps that you took to do this? How many times have you been able to repeat it? And everything, right? What happens? What do you see? And it's work. There is work involved. You're not, like I said, you're not just getting into a game. They can't see everything that we do. They can kind of see what's happening in a general sense. But we as the individual have to be keeping track of what's happening, what's going on. Now, this is where a lot of us being able to stream when the NDA is lifted will be very helpful, because then we can actually log, here's my stream time. I at this many minutes or whatever of this link of my stream, you can see this happen, and they can actually see what you've done. So that's very, very helpful. Even under an NDA, you might not be able to stream it, but you could still record your gameplay, and then you could take clips and send them the footage if they have that kind of thing implemented. Some of the games I've done alphas and betas for will do that. So you're under an NDA, but you can still record your gameplay, and then you can report that you can take the clip of that video and send it to them, and then they can watch what you've done. And they'll always come back with more questions. So, yes, there'll be bugs, lack of optimization, obviously. Many systems and features are still yet to be implemented or are done in a very core fashion. So if you're thinking that the node system is going to work perfectly, probably not. You may actually get two nodes that are able to level up at the same time. Or you might have one node that doesn't level up at all. right? There's little bugs and glitches here and there. Or you level up a node, but it didn't quite level up the way you expected it. Regardless, he says, I feel it's important to provide transparency so the community has the ability to see progress in their development and be a part of the process. Okay. Well, they keep talking about it. I hope we see it. Okay, I really do hope we start to see it. Like I said, they keep talking about it. I would say we haven't necessarily been seeing that. Um, I understand why not, but they've had some certain delays and stuff where after the fact they've been a little more honest with us than really what was happening at the time. And I mean, it's a catch-22. Right? I get the reasoning that you can't always talk about everything because competitors and other people are watching. You are going to have those naysayers and those negative Nancys in your community that oh my God, the sky is falling. Those kind of people, and so you do have to manage your expectations. But at the same time, you don't want to set your expectations so far that you aren't meeting those expectations. And looking at the monthly development updates and stuff, I don't always feel like we've been getting that transparency that they've been talking about. Like I said, the big one is when he was looking for bacon, right? He's in that harbor area. Supposed to show us the underneath ceiling, never did. He spent almost the whole time looking for bacon, and then he squirreled off somewhere else. We never got to see what he told us he was going to show us. And there's nothing in that video that actually showed any progression as far as game mechanics. So, that kind of stuff, right? Like their PvP battle on the beach, where, they're using GM hacks to make sure that, to get their life or mana up or whatever. That's not, we've seen lots of PvP. That's not something that is advancing, the core features, right? As you catch footage and streams of the Alpha 1, keep in mind that there are still ways to go before Ashes is ready. Yeah, at least a couple of years. And our commitment is taking the time necessary to do you proud and make the game worthy of the name Ashes of Creation. If you have not already, please make sure you are part of the forum, socials, Reddit, yada, yada, yada. So, studio update. I am incredibly happy to announce that the team will soon be returning to our brand new studio sometime between now and June 15th. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Looking what's happening in with the whole world, with the whole COVID and the whole variants of COVID, and how California, unless Buddy there in California gets recalled, and even then the recall election wouldn't be until maybe the fall or something. I know they got over 2 million signatures. I know it's political, but the dude there he's easy on the lockdowns, right, and stuff like that. So, yeah. Depending on how this whole COVID stuff goes and how the politicians or whatever deal with it, I wouldn't hold your breath. I'm looking at what's happening here in Canada. Just look at what's happening in Ontario and Quebec. We have 8 p.m. curfews. We have, police being told they can do checkpoints at borders and stuff. Stay-at-home orders, and I mean they're not any worse off than a lot of like California and New York and whatever. So I hope they get into their studio. I've talked a little bit about how it's beneficial to have that collaboration. So he says here, furniture installation and final construction are being completed now. Why wasn't that completed last year? Right, like he's been talking about the new studio now for 2 years. He couldn't. A lot of this stuff could have been done in that time. So, there's again, this is where it kind of comes down to that transparency and stuff like that. Construction doesn't stop. People can still go in and work and stuff. They just have to wear proper PPE and all this stuff. So yeah, why is it being completed now? Why wasn't it done? Yeah, a year ago, right? Because it's like, oh, we're going to move in a couple of months. Okay, but you're only now doing the furniture installation and final construction. Like this is the critiques that I've had. Doesn't all make sense. I know what it's like to move from one building to another, and I talked to a lot of business owners. I'm one myself that I have long-term relationships with who have had to move buildings and have moved buildings. COVID doesn't stop that. It slows it down, but it doesn't stop that. Sometimes they can't wait to be back in studio together. Well, remote work has its benefits. Yeah, it's fabulous for the art guys, right? The art guys, yeah, the working at home hasn't stopped them at all. I mean, the art is, wow. But yeah, for like the engineer guys and the coders and stuff that are needing to collaborate, yeah, he's not wrong when he says this is a collaboration spark that is lost in such a creative environment as game development, especially for a project like an MMO with so many moving pieces. 100%, like that, you have no idea. Trying to brainstorm and how to, and when you get on a roll collaborating, it's like the hype train, right? If you're not constantly fueling it, it runs out of energy really quick. And so if you're stuck on Zoom calls or you're waiting for people to answer something, whatever, it's not the same as just getting up and sliding your chair over or whatever to the next guy and saying, hey, what about this? And then you do a little collaboration there, and then that ignites him or somebody else nearby, and they get involved. And you kind of get this free flow of thought. You can't get that when you have to log into a Zoom, wait for the other guy to answer or whatever, right? You get a lot of pause and stops and false starts, and then you start overthinking what your idea is, and rather than your idea evolving into something maybe more doable or realistic, what ends up happening is you start creating a lot of self-doubt, and so you don't even bother to bring your idea up, right? Because, I mean, we're all capable of fantastic ideas. It doesn't mean that every idea is usable. More ideas are thrown away than used. But there's always part of that idea that you can recycle. And you don't get that from a work from home situation where everybody's separated. Onboarding is considerably more complex in a work from home environment, absolutely, and Intrepid still has considerable growth to achieve. Speaking of growth, we have been and are still continuing to grow. We've brought aboard some amazing talent so far this year. We continue to seek out experienced and veteran developers across the spectrum of development specialties, from art to design to engineering and more. A development team will need to grow by roughly 50% within this year to a target headcount of about 150 full-time and on-site. Now, your average AAA MMO is going to be about 150 to 200 people on average. So, I mean, he wants to flesh out that studio quite well. But that also tells us how far away they are from actual completion, because all of these people they're going to hire are going to be on a minimum 1 to 2 year contract. Because really, once an MMO gets released, you start laying off a bunch of people because they're not creating anything really new anymore. You're just altering assets, creating a few new assets for DLCs and expansions and stuff like that. But in pretty much every instance of an MMO launching, about half the staff ends up going somewhere else. But nobody's going to hire on for 6 months. Hey, Lunar. So we know that there's at least 1 to 2 years of good full-time development before this game is ready for release. So we have that to look forward to. And that's why I'm saying they're still about 2 years off at minimum. So this, of course, does not include our contractors and external partners that we are leveraging on Ashes of Creation. Once we are situated this summer in the new studio, we'll be conducting more aggressive hiring campaigns. I don't know. I think they're pretty aggressive already. They're trying to get us to constantly mention and share on social media and stuff like that. So I'm thinking they're probably doing a fairly aggressive job of at least collecting CVs. Now, to their benefit, there are a couple of other MMOs that will be released before Ashes comes online. And so those companies like Amazon with New World, I hear there's a new Lord of the Rings game that might come out or something like that before Ashes might come out. So those studios will be releasing people. And so those people will be looking for new jobs, and Ashes could potentially hoover them up, which would be great. So they'll also be including virtual and in-person job fairs. We'll also be planning to open more junior and entry-level positions for those of you who may be currently or have recently completed your studies for game development. The future is bright. So I'm coffee. I haven't streamed a lot, so a little dry. So anyways, to continue. I'm trying to keep this relatively short for my normal 6-hour videos. There's just iced tea. I've been recycling the same cup. Not promoting any businesses. During much of the first quarter for 2021, we have done a considerable amount of testing both internally and with our resilient Alpha 1 preview testers. In February's testing, we discovered some critical bugs on the networking side and promptly focused on fixing that up. We have now achieved a more stable and performant test client, and we'll be ramping up testing starting once again on April 19th with our NDA testers in anticipation for the non-NDA testing. And I believe it is the 17th today, so this is in 2 days. Starting in May and ultimately the Alpha 1 test beginning on June 1st. Of course, we cannot predict what unknowns can surface as we navigate these testing periods, aka there may be another delay. And I say to you all, that is okay. Lots of people got upset. They got mad. I read lots of articles about how this current 2-month delay was a bad sign. It was a bad omen. No, it's not. This is game development. We have to stop believing we're in this instant gratification culture. We got to stop looking at Steam Greenlight and early access as that is just how business is done. Where a half-finished game is released to the public. We have to stop thinking like that because we are letting developers be lazy. We are letting developers get away with bad production. And it's the suits, it's the shareholders that get the money, right? We get a crappy game release, but the suits, the investors, whatever, they get all their money. They get all of their profit. And then the poor game studio gets the bad name. We need to stop that. So it's okay if there are delays, providing that it makes for a better game. And we've got to stop being angry or mad or upset and claiming that, life is over. Expect delays. Expect lots of delays. Expect constant delays. Because if you set your expectation that there are going to be constant delays, then when the game comes out, well, hopefully it'll come out before you think it'll come out. Unless it's Star Citizen or Pantheon. I don't think we'll ever see either of those games. But, there are certain situations where you're just going to be in delay hell. But I don't think Ashes is going to be one of those games. I've always had a good feeling about the game. And I've had people claim that I'm negative about it. It's like, no, I'm realistic about it. There's a difference. Being realistic about something isn't being negative. It's just saying, yeah, there's going to be delays. I'm okay with that. As long as we see progress, right? As long as there's evidence of progress. Anyways, part of this transparent development process is setting expectations correctly. Ultimately, the whole reason for this early testing is to collect data to appropriately address issues as they arise. Sometimes this means delaying, and that's okay so long as you, our glorious community, are kept up to date with our efforts and progress. See? So, and again, we haven't seen this kind of language come from Steven very often. Right? Usually with Steven, it's, we're making great progress. We're making fantastic progress. And then it's Jeffrey and Margaret going, we have a long, long road ahead and we've many, many updates. So this is Steven, finally admitting that, there's going to be delays and that those delays are okay. That's being a good leader and a good figurehead in this instance. I'm glad to see this kind of language because this is language that's very, very much needed. If you don't have this kind of language and you just keep going raw cheerleader style, that's why when you announce a delay, you get all of this negativity that springs up all over the internet, all of the forums and stuff like that, right? And the Ashes forums are negative enough as it is, half the time. I mean, I would say out of everything Ashes of Creation, the forums are the most toxic of anything related to the Ashes of Creation. Our forums are just absolute. It's not like Twitter toxic, but it definitely feels like it sometimes. Our end goal and top commitment is ensuing a stable launch with the features promised and performance deserving of an MMO like Ashes of Creation. We have also recently completed an update with engines, moving from Unreal Engine version 4.25 to 4.26. We try to keep up to date with the latest versions from Epic, and this update went particularly smoothly thanks to the hard work of our engineers and Q&A teams. Good, that's great. That means that they're learning how to flex their code, right? Because I think they learned that with the last time they updated and it broke a bunch of stuff. So I think their code is now flexible enough that when they update Unreal Engine, it doesn't sever their connections completely with whatever back-end code that they're marrying into there. So that's awesome. That's good. And feel free to leave a comment if you guys agree or disagree. In some of our more recent testing, which was showcased in our February monthly update stream, haven't seen it yet, we successfully conducted stress testing that focused on having hundreds of players and thousands of NPCs within close proximity to one another, in which we maintained a relatively decent server-side performance. This will be further tuned and optimized, but it demonstrates a significant milestone in the game's technical capabilities. As you know, one of our greatest goals is putting the massive back into massively multiplayer. This is intended through many systems in the game: raiding, sieges, wars, battlegrounds, naval content, and more. Good stuff. So I look forward to seeing that. He says it's in the February update. I look forward to seeing that. Last year I spoke of attempting to incorporate sieges into the Alpha 1 experience. This has obviously been a goal of mine because it provides considerable data and a consistent event within the world that players can participate in to help stress test the deployment. Well, I am happy to say that it is appearing more and more likely by the day. Initial implementation of the Apocalypse Siege code has migrated into the Alpha 1 client, and we should begin internal testing next month. I will caveat this expectation with the fact that we are cutting it a bit close from an internal QA standpoint, but I have some confidence that the system will be online and capable of inclusion for the Alpha 1 test in the month of June. The Siege component will obviously not be representative of what the Siege system will be at launch, or even in Alpha 2. I'll keep you updated on its progress in our monthly live stream. So, again, I would say don't expect to see it there. Don't expect to see it. It'll be nice, but I'm pretty sure they will come to the conclusion that having the Siege system there might be nice as an aesthetic, but if it's not going to be anything close to what they really intend come launch, it might be better to leave it out because you set a false expectation. And you only have to look back at the Ashes of Creation Apocalypse and the combat and the experience that people had in the Battle Royale, and how well is that going to translate to how the MMO will play. And if they determine at the end of the day that it's far too different, they might just scrap it. They might say, you know what, we would like to bring it in. It'd be a nice novelty. Yes, we'd get a little bit of numbers out of it. But at the end of the day, is it going to adequately represent their goals and their ideals? So I would say don't expect it to be there. But let's hope that something will show up as just a nod, right? But again, this is managing your expectations so that we can be pleasantly surprised that it's there, as opposed to expecting it to be there and them saying, hey, you know what? We decided this isn't going to adequately represent what we want our game to be, so we decided not to include it. And then you get a bunch of people that go, oh, Ashes of Creation. It's just another Chronicles of Illyria. It's another Star Citizen. It's failure. It's not. You have to have reasonable expectations, and you want to have an honest representation. So, and I like this art. This is kind of nice. I like that. Definitely Dunir. I'm biased, I know. Final thoughts. Lastly, I know that for the past several months we have received a considerable number of requests with regards to opening Alpha 1 sales again. Well, I'm happy to announce that we will be reintroducing Alpha 1 options sometime in May. So sometime next month. More information on this will be posted to our website around the end of April, and we will announce this across our socials, so make sure to keep an eye out if you are interested in participating. I do, however, want to give a stern warning. Participating in our Alpha 1 test should not be regarded as playing a game. Again, this is like, Stephen, good work. You need to have this language. And it needs to be everywhere. Like this has to be really overstated because of, the whole early access, the whole green light fiasco that's gone on in the game industry in the last, 7 years. I think it's really hurt the gaming industry in the long run because people get into these alpha beta releases thinking that, this is what the game's going to be, Anthem. And of course it's not. It's nothing like it. And then because the game doesn't get the recognition or whatever that it should have gotten because it's so incomplete, sales drop off. And then so the companies don't have, sales drop off. The investors take their money and walk away, and the developer studios stuck with a 60 or an 80% finished product with no further capital to finish the game. So, and that's why I think we're getting a lot of the garbage we get today, right? That's why Cyberpunk 2077 is what it was. It's because the investors wanted their money. They don't care about the game, right? They don't care about us. And who takes the financial hit on refunds? The company does. The studio does. Because the investors, they get away with their money before all of these refunds start getting paid out. So, again, Stephen really needs to do a lot of these stern warnings and telling people, that participating in the Alpha 1 is you're not playing a game. He says here, you are helping test our work in progress. You'll be expected to provide feedback to help us iterate on systems and designs. We love and appreciate our testers and the support they provide Ashes. And each and every one of our Alpha 1 testers will have a special place in Ashes history. So if you plan to participate, take the commitment seriously and know you have our respect and appreciation. This will not be everyone's cup of tea. And that's, again, cannot be stated often enough. There are going to be people that are going to get into this not understanding what an alpha is, what the expectations are, and they're not going to like it. And they're going to piss and moan and complain. I will say this, if you are a younger person, this probably won't be your cup of tea. If you're an older person like me, you've been around for a while, you've done some alpha beta testing, you're going to love it because you're going to go in with a fountain of knowledge and experience from alpha and beta testing other keys. You're going to know what to expect. You're going to be waiting, right? We'll be in game running around trees, running around rocks, trying to jump off cliffs, trying to jump off buildings. We're going to be doing all these stupid things waiting for that server command that comes up and says, hey, everybody do this. Everybody do that. Everybody go here. Hey, we're going to teleport you to this location in 30 seconds, right? We're going to look forward to these things. And then, again, we're going to get to wherever we're going. And then we're just going to just hammer away on whatever we're supposed to do. And it's going to be fun. This game has collision. So you have to do collision against buildings, against rocks, against trees, where one person, is standing next to it and you run into them, right? And because you want to see how does the collision displace the person? Can you push somebody through a crack in the world? Because they're putting the whole world together. But they're not internally going to be able to do all of this stuff. And it's stupid and it's silly, but it's something that has to be done. And these are just examples that, I remember from World of Warcraft. I'm sure world building's a little bit different than it was back then. So I'm sure falling through the world in these examples isn't necessarily going to be the way to do it. But if you have a portal, I mean, how does can you portal through certain objects and what happens? We've seen them stuck in rocks and things like that in previous videos. Have those things been fixed and whatnot? So a lot to look forward to. But again, yeah, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. If you think you're going to go in and just start leveling and stuff like that, my advice, watch people. Watch people play. Interact that way. If you want to help support Ashes of Creation in a less intense way, considering helping spread the word about the project and the fact that we are undergoing some massive growth at the studio, share our job posting us across social media and tag your favorite MMO devs. We have a lot of seats to fill this year in a brand new studio that is starting to look pretty spiffy and like a fun place to work. We will be doing a studio tour as soon as possible. Cannot wait to start shooting some developer diaries again. We cannot thank you enough for the love and support you have given Ashes of Creation. Everyone at Intrepid is incredibly excited to give you all a taste of the progress we are making in developing one of the most anticipated MMORPGs, and we are hard at work to make you proud. Your faithful creative director, Stephen Sharif. So, again, out of all the letters that I've read recently, this is the best one. I really like this one. It's not full of vague words. It's not, there's nothing that you can really get confused on as far as what does it mean. It's I would say fairly clear and concise. It's pretty wordy. There obviously there's a lot of promoting in here. Of course, you'd expect that. This isn't something you'd share with shareholders. Your shareholders would read this and tear it up and say, okay, no, we want the real numbers. We want the real information. But for the plebs, for us, this is good. This, like I said, this is very well worded in many aspects. This is like not your cup of tea. But he also tries to soften it here, right? We love and appreciate our testers and the support they provide. So they understand, Steven understands that some people are going to get involved in the Alpha 1 and are not going to like it. So I would expect that Steven will probably have some sort of a refund system in place where if people buy the Alpha 1, they get into the Alpha 1 and it's not their cup of tea, that they'll be able to get their money back or a portion of their money back. Because you don't want people in an alpha who don't want to be there. Because if somebody's paying $150 to get into the alpha, they're going to be in the alpha, right? They're going to try and get as much of their money's worth out of it as possible. But it may not best serve the community. It may not best serve the game because, you don't want these people streaming the game and then just doing nothing but bitching about it, right? Because they're a little raw, right? They paid whatever X amount of money. They were expecting to get in to play a game, and they get in saying, well, this doesn't work, and this is broken, and blah, 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 and maybe they don't adequately describe on their stream that this is an alpha. And, an Alpha 1 is an early alpha. Okay. Like I said, I wouldn't call this an Alpha 1 because we only have 3 playable classes that I've seen so far out of 8. I think you'd want foundationally the basics of all 8 classes. You would want the foundation of all of your major races. Talnar they were a stretch goal. So I would almost say let the Talnar come out in an expansion a year down the road or something. They're underground. Maybe they haven't worked their way up yet. But we haven't seen orcs, or at least I haven't seen anything relating to orcs. So we have one whole race that we haven't seen yet, a race of 2 cultures. But everything else, it's coming together. The world looks awesome. The world looks fabulous. The art team and the environment team have done a phenomenal job. We don't know a lot yet about the state of the other foundational elements. It's been a while since we've seen something relating to the nodes, to caravans, to sieges, to any of these battles, to buying or selling buildings, even the election system. We haven't seen really how the marriage system. It's a lot of talk, haven't seen. Now, some of these things are a little bit beyond foundational, but these are still core elements or aspects of the game. We haven't seen how the different nodes are supposed to operate. We've seen, again, it's been a long time since we've even seen nodes level up or scale up. So there's a lot of stuff we haven't seen yet that are core foundational elements that you need the very basics of these things working in an alpha, in an open alpha type situation, what you're showing the rest of the world. So I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised, and that maybe many of these things are ready to go. They just haven't been showing us things because they don't want to tip their hand. And when we do get into the alpha one, it'll be like, whoo, a whole new world, right? And we're going to be like, wow, yeah, this is, and maybe that's what they want, right? Maybe there's a hype train, kick up there. I don't know. All I can go by is what I've seen, a little bit of what I'm reading. I don't spend a whole lot of time focused on Ashes of Creation because, there's so many other creators out there doing a much better job at creating stuff. I'm really good at reading and digesting and giving an opinion and trying to, I hope, be fairly reasonable, fairly balanced. I'm definitely encouraging people to look into the game, to consider, putting some money in it if you want, but at least keep your eyes on it. I think, I think Ashes will be a very good MMO when it comes out. I just, think it's going to take a little longer than many of us first assumed when the majority of people found out about this game a year ago, or a little less than a year ago. So I'm going to wrap up this part of the video. Stay tuned, I guess, if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, whatever you got to do. Feel free to leave a comment. I do try to respond to everybody, or at least thumbs up a comment if I do agree with it. Yeah, I'm going to move on over and look at the latest development studio update, which I believe is February. I don't think I've seen that one. And we'll do a live reaction to that puppy. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys soon.